to bring these documents, which I'm sending to you, so your viewers can actually see. Because I went down to Snohomish County and I even wrote a report pertaining, and I'm talking about politicians in the state of Washington, judges, lawyers, child protective services. I just made it they told me to keep it condensed. I wrote like 10 sentences.
It's impossible for you.
Well, I wrote 10 sentences to dumb it down, but to allow the evidence as exhibits, because there's a thing called expository evidence. So I was giving them expository evidence on the sense of exhibits. So they were forced to read the exhibits. But looking at my affidavit, in which I walked into the Snohomish County Sheriff's Department and I wrote the whole entire agency. I mean, the Bar Association, the judges, lobbyists, and you can pull it up right now because I sent it to you on Messenger.
No, I want to. My original show with Lazaro was featured back in 2014. That was our very first show together, and he had. Whoops! Wait 1 second. Oh, I lost it. It was what bill was it? I just said what bill it was. I know you had it memorized. Okay, here it is. The bill was passed by the Bar Association. By the way, folks, I want to say that the Bar Association is not supposed to be allowed to legislate any sort of House bill or the bar is not legally supposed to be able to legislate anything. The House bill report is ESHB 2510. The bill was passed by the Bar Association, and it gives CPS immunity from perjury, folks. That's why this is important. It gives them immunity from perjury and fabricating evidence. The sponsors of the committee on the judiciary, originally sponsored by Representative Kagi Walsh, Peterson, Orwell, Jenkins, Dickerson, Rye, Van D. Wedge, Darnielle, and Roberts. And it was passed. Let's see, committee activity. So, yeah. Go ahead.
Let me include this. One of the reasons why we did the research is we were going after Peterson. Peterson, if you look at his website and you go down and you start studying the man, I have nothing against gay people. He is married to a guy. 2, he has adopted children with green and blue eyes, white children with green and blue eyes. He adopted 4 children, and if you look at all 4 of the children that he adopted, they have dirty blonde hair or blonde with green and blue eyes, and are white, obviously. He is actually making a financial gain through the Title 4D and E in adopting the children, and we were going after him. One of the amazing things that we had was that we had to pull, but as soon as Governor Inslee took over, he shut the whole investigation down because of the fact that we were going to expose a whole criminal pedophile empire within the state of Washington. I myself, I was doing this at the same time working with respects to the Bundy case and the Hammonds in the state of Oregon. I actually had to go dark because now I had put a big target on myself, and everybody wanted to find out who Lazaro Ecenarro was about. And right after the Bundy case, which is one of the most famous live streams that I've done in front of the courthouse and exposing or naming all the bills, which I did mention all the bills out there in that live stream, that including, and this is the bill that you were talking about, 2239, and House Bill 2239 it incorporated the jails, the courthouses, the family courthouses, CPS, which is under the state of Washington, DSHS, the state troopers, and the state of Washington. They incorporated themselves, which was the bill was drafted by bar members of the American Bar Association, which they cannot hold public office because if you to look at what Madison and Hamilton wrote in the Federalist Papers, this is tyranny at its finest. This is what the Federalist Papers were talking about and stating the separation of powers, the balance of powers per branches, but most of all, having not one person, individual or a party affiliated infiltrating one branch to another branch because tyranny would happen. And what we have right now is tyranny. Yeah. Most of the American people don't understand that. I mean, thank God for Donald J. Trump being elected. But at the end of the day, Trump can only do so much in the federal level. But if you look at the state and local level, most of them are bar members. And it's tyranny at its finest. And this is what the Founding Fathers were talking about, tyranny, in the Federalist Papers. This is why the Declaration of Independence is so symbolic. It's symbolic for the fact that we have the ability to abolish government. And when the American people start figuring it out and putting the pieces together of how the members of the American Bar Association has manipulated the American people to create create corporations or incorporations or statutes, codes, and administrative procedures so they can go ahead and steal the riches from the American people, including their bloodline, which is their children.
Yeah. That's pretty much what I wanted to get at, Laz. That it's crazy, folks, but this is what's happening. I'm laughing because it's so horrific. The crimes against our children and our families are so horrific. I can't even wrap my mind around it, but it has escalated to the point. Here we are. That bill was passed in 2012. Here we are in 2019. And we're still trying to get heard. Yeah. We're still trying to get heard. We're still working hard on behalf of the people. And we're trying to create a political movement by 2020 for the 2020 election to expose immunity, human trafficking, and fraud on the court.
Oh, absolutely. And if it wasn't for the alternative media, from Porthole to Justice to Kirk Law's Corner to William Wagner, William Wagner's Second Thoughts, Wiley Drake, David Jose, Chris Blah. I mean, the alternative media is what's continuing, and France, and there's more out there, and Derek Gonzalez, more people that I need to mention, which is obviously from Kirk Law's Corners is Kirk Pendergrass, John Gentry, and Chris Hallett. But there are more people out there that are working, and we're networking.
Yeah, and especially Zeph Daniel,
yes,
his show, the Zeph Report, as well as all the other members of Victorious Libertas. I want to mention, so many. There's so many that I want to mention that have stuck with me on this journey and on this path in the alternative media news network, social media news network, that have really stuck it out. And we've been persecuted. Like, we've been targeted and slandered and people trying to discredit us. I mean, we have really been through the ringer.
Oh, most definitely. Just like you. I mean, I've also been targeted, but at the end of the day, I always tell everybody out there, well, why don't we have a public debate regarding to the documents, to the facts of what I'm stating? If you are so adamant and trying to state that I am falsifying what I'm saying, then why don't we have a public debate? Why don't we bring in a court of record, in a lawful court, and bring out the evidence? And every politician, every attorney, every judge, every lobbyist, every banker out there that I mentioned, I dare them to come after me for defamation and slander, including anybody that's directly and indirectly tied to GCI, which is a Clinton Global Initiative, Hillary Clinton, Uranium One, Harry Reid, George Soros, and it'll never happen because at the end of the day, there's a thing called expository evidence where I bring out this evidence and I make sure it's under expository evidence. And if they want to go ahead and violate the Brady Bill, then by all means, do it. But let the American people see the evidence for themselves, and let the American people judge pertaining to the evidence. Not what I said, but what the evidence say.
Well, folks, going forward, I'm going to be hosting shows like this with guests like Lazaro Ecenarro and brave souls that are, courageously challenging the status quo and blazing a trail. And I personally believe that we are going to win.
I hope so. I hope so because I'd rather be I want to be behind the scenes and doing the research, bringing the documents, and like you said, come over here and give you 5 inches of documents and say, here, Duran, read it, dissect it, and highlight it. It's already highlighted for you. All you got to do is read it.
Well, I'm going to be featuring Lazaro in the upcoming months in the new Portal to Justice community chat. You can find that exclusively on Facebook. I'm going to be hosting his content and his live streams in the Portal to Justice community chat exclusively on Facebook. And thanks so much for joining us this evening and tuning in. I'm so grateful for everybody that has followed me throughout the years. If you followed me through everything, you are really family, and I humbly appreciate it, and so does Laz. I know Laz does too. It's not easy what we do. It's not. No. Thank you.
And to close on this, I don't do this for notoriety because everybody knows that I've been doing this and everything out of my own pocket. What I do is for what it's righteous, what it's right. Doesn't matter about gender or race or religion. This is about what it's right for our children, because we can no longer sacrifice American children. And I will be adamant on that. American children.
No, and here's the deal, folks. We the people can no longer sustain this level of corruption. The families can no longer sustain this level of corruption. So go to the Porthole to Justice community chat. Please support my content. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. And I am now on Patreon, so you can support my content on Patreon as well. And thank you so much, Laz, for joining me this evening.
No, thank you. I'm extremely humbled and honored.
All right, guys. This has been another episode of Porthole to Justice Off the Cuff. Oh, please go to human2020.com and check out the initiative to end human trafficking by the year 2020 as well. All right, everyone. I will be on the Zeph Report on the 20th of this month. I will be with the whole family, the global family. I will be speaking on human trafficking and these issues with Zeph Daniel and his lovely wife, as well as Govinda Tidbal, the founder of Human 2020. We will be talking about the global epidemic of human trafficking and targeting worldwide. So join us every month on the 20th of every month on the Zeph Report. Thank you so much for tuning in, and have a great night.